Design. It's everywhere. In fact, every time a person creates anything, from a souffle to a sofa, that person is taking on the role of designer, whether they know it or not. Designing is the task of arranging the parts or elements of something to make our own creation. And no matter what it is we're creating, an interior design, a work of art, a garden, something to wear, the design elements we work with are the same. Take a look around you. Every three-dimensional object you see has a color, a texture, a shape, and lines that define it. These are the elements of design. Each element of design has powerful potential. Each can completely alter the way your design is experienced by others. The professionals know their elements inside out, what they are, what they do, and how to use them to their best advantage. And this is what separates the professional designers from the rest of the pack. This video will teach you how you can manipulate each of these elements to achieve the design you want with the impact you're looking for. Let's begin with line. We're not necessarily talking about the straight, thin line of, let's say, a birch tree. In design, line must be thought of more broadly. Anything taller than it is wide is said to have a vertical line. If the object in question is wider than it is tall, we designate its line as horizontal. If it's tipping or leaning, it's a diagonal line. And if it bends, twists, curves, the line of an object is called curved. And that's all there is. Vertical, horizontal, diagonal, or curved. Now, the amazing thing about line is its ability to affect how people experience your design. We have a set of consistent reactions to line that stem from our most basic human experiences. Vertical lines suggest stability, immobility, strength. We associate permanence with tree trunks, architectural columns, bridge supports, things that are sturdy and don't change much over time. We also assign a certain dignity to the vertical line. A standing figure, for example, suggests a certain formality and alertness in contrast with the slouching figure. During the very formal, some would say repressed, Victorian era, even the furniture had a formal air to it, in part because of its strong, vertical emphasis. The vertical line is often used in design to give the illusion of height. Vertical lines lead the eye up, making things appear taller and more narrow. If we add drapery, tall furniture, or vertical architectural details and accessories to a room, the ceiling appears to be taller than it actually is. Likewise, in fashion, vertical lines lead the eye up, focusing our attention on height rather than width. We look taller and more slender than we might be in reality. Horizontal lines, on the other hand, have the opposite effect, appearing to widen the subject. But this effect is not all bad. How do we feel when we get the chance to gaze upon nature's wide, open, horizontal spaces? Most of us undergo a feeling of peacefulness, calm, relaxation. This is the power of the horizontal line. It beckons us to loosen up and get comfortable. Look at how this translates to architectural design. Wide, low buildings seem less imposing, less formal than tall ones. In interior design, we're more apt to find horizontal lines dominating bedrooms, dens, family rooms, places where people want to relax. Speaking of relaxation, what happens when we sleep? Here's the ultimate experience in restfulness, reinforcing the connection between the horizontal line and relaxed comfort. Let's review. Vertical lines add formality, dignity, a sense of permanence and stability. In design, they add height. Horizontal lines have the opposite effect: restfulness, relaxation. In design, the horizontal line makes an object appear wider than it is. Halfway between the vertical and horizontal comes the dynamic diagonal line. Gravity teaches us that nothing stays diagonal too long. So we associate the diagonal line with activity, movement, excitement. A runner at full speed is diagonal. A plane taking off is diagonal. Think of a shooting star. If it's diagonal, generally speaking, it's moving. The rare diagonal building might inspire us to run for cover. In design, a diagonal line calls attention to itself immediately. It has a way of bursting in on the more predictable horizontal and vertical lines. It adds excitement. But don't get carried away. Too many diagonals can be overpowering. Oh, and pretty tiring. And finally, we have the curved line. Nature gives us far more curves than straight lines of any type, leading us to think of curvy designs as natural, freer, more soothing. The curve softens design. It adds a feeling of coziness, comfort. A lot of contemporary furniture takes advantage of curved lines. In textiles, landscaping, accessories, and architecture, the free-flowing curve lends a soft touch to design. A quick review. Diagonal lines add excitement, movement, speed. They're an effective means to liven up your creation. Curves bring to mind the natural world. Their gentle slopes and swirls evoke a more delicate, gentle reality. The curve softens design. The next element of design is form or shape. Shape simply refers to the area or space created by enclosed lines. There are an infinite number of shapes. If a shape has identical left and right sides, or top and bottom, it's called symmetrical. Asymmetrical shapes are imperfect, lumpy, don't have matching sides. In nature, we find an unlimited variety of shapes, both symmetrical and asymmetrical. Yet when we look at human-made design, we are far more likely to encounter symmetrical shapes, perfect rectangles, triangles, squares, circles, ovals. Why is this? It's the way our brains are wired. Symmetrical shapes are easier for us to identify, remember, and reproduce. You can easily recall the shape of a blueberry, but how many of us can recall the exact shape of a particular mountain? When we encounter asymmetrical shapes, our brains automatically search for the closest symmetrical shape to compare it to. Thus, we might remember the mountain as sort of a triangle. This tendency to seek perfection in shape is so strong that imperfect shapes tend to catch our attention immediately. Such imperfection can lead to an emotional response of unease, even instability. We feel compelled to fix the flaw. Let's recap. Shape is the second element of design. Every object has shape. Shapes from the natural world are both symmetrical and asymmetrical, but human-made shapes, on the other hand, tend towards symmetry. And we are uncomfortable with imperfection in geometric shapes. The third